Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now, today's first story comes from Purple Kitty Cat, who says, would I be the arsehole if I ditched my sister's wedding reception with my family? I, 31 female, am due to go to my sister's 26 female wedding in a week. My sister and I have never really seen eye to eye, and I personally think that she asked me to be a bridesmaid out of courtesy and necessity due to the lack of her female friends. I'm neurodivergent and have had issues with food, ARFID, which is avoidant and restrictive food intake disorder, since I was a young child. Everyone knows this. There's a short list of things that I will eat, whether that be down to flavor, texture, etc. Now, my sister embraces the vegan, plant-based lifestyle. Nothing against this, you do you, whatever makes you happy. What I don't agree with is forcing your lifestyle and beliefs onto other people. Let people make decisions about what they eat for themselves. It's not up to you or anyone else to judge. There's many reasons why people choose to eat what they eat. Allergies, intolerances, religions, belief, neurodivergency, medical reasons, medication, or just plain preference. Now, I've recently found out that my sister has opted for an entire plant-based menu for a wedding. The menu has been released, and I'm having anxiety about attending because there is not even so much as a side dish that I will eat. Not only that, but many of the ingredients in the dishes one of our elderly relatives is allergic to. There's no offered alternative. So, I've hopped onto old reliable Google and had a look at what's available in the local area. There's not much. It's pretty remote, but there's a restaurant less than 10 minutes drive away from the wedding venue. Would I be the arsehole if myself and my immediate family disappeared for an hour or so during the reception to eat food that we can actually eat? So the top commenter on this post, Successful says, be an adult. Contact your sister, say great menu, but because of your condition, there's nothing on there you can eat. You are keen to support her on her most important day. Which would she prefer? 1, you bring some food you can eat with you, or 2, you nip out of the place 10 minutes away, eat, then circle back. That puts her on notice and gives her some input. If she doesn't go with either choice, comes up with something inappropriate, just a neutral okay and do what's best for you on the day, just give a neutral okay and do what's best for you on the day. So you have a record. Text her a day later saying you know she's busy, thanks for listening to you worry about there not being anything on the menu at her reception that you can eat without being sick. Not the arsehole. Opie responded saying, I did exactly that. Thanks for the suggestion. She had a fit at our parents and is ignoring me. I mentioned the allergies in the group and claimed she didn't know. It was on the ERSVP that she neglected to read. I'm not trying to be an arsehole. I just feel that if you're inviting people to an event, everyone should be catered for, to some degree. And to spend so much money on food for it to go to waste, when it could have been spent on things that people would have actually enjoyed or gone towards something else. Our government replies that saying there's a theme with siblings where one has a dietary restriction and the other grows up resentful of the special attention and chooses to decide that it's an act. Be wary of the food you eat at your parents' place from now on till the wedding. Opie says I would legitimately be happy with fries and bread. Too Basic to Care says you would be the arsehole if you didn't tell her nicely. She's allowed to have food she wants at her wedding. You're allowed to not want to eat it, but taking off with family, her family too, would be devastating, rude and costly to her. Not to mention just plain wasteful of all those meals. Why not pack a picnic/snacks in a separate bag and sneak off to eat when you can, rather than causing such a huge scene? Another commenter replies to that saying because she wants to create a scene. Why else start a story with how they don't see eye to eye and her sister has no friends? She's making a big friggin' deal out of one meal. She should just suck it up and eat before the wedding. OP responded saying, I don't want to cause a scene. It's just context, and it's not one meal. It's the entire day. And I have nothing against veganism. I just don't think people should push their beliefs onto others. Another commenter says, soft, you're the arsehole. I have bad allergies that are hard to accommodate for. I bring food to all events I attend. If I can eat what they serve, great. If I can't, I pull out my food. Once it was a pitta, so now it's called my purse pitta. Bring a purse pitta and be with your sister. Tom Ram says, "You're the arsehole. If you leave your sister's wedding reception with your entire family to go eat dinner elsewhere. For fuck's sake, it's a wedding. It's one meal. Bring food you can eat. I've got ARFID too, so I bring food when I have to. I don't ruin people's special occasions with my own eating disorder. I cannot believe you don't see how rude this is. You honestly don't sound like you like your sister at all. If this is so serious for you, step down as bridesmaid and don't attend at all, and expect your relationship with your sister to end." As I was reading this, I was just getting more of a negative relationship between the sisters. It was just the way the post started off, never seeing eye to eye with her sister, believing that she was only asked to be a bridesmaid out of courtesy and necessity, and then there was other comments like forcing lifestyle and belief onto others. And I was trying to look at it from both sides. If I was the bride or whatever, I know there's a lot going on. I know she's probably super busy dealing with wedding stuff, but if a family member, especially a close family member, came up to me and said, can we include some fries in it or something like that, I'd probably be accommodating towards that. I know you can't cater to every single person who comes to a wedding, but your sister, with issues that you know about, I'd probably be able to do something about that, However, sister's plan of getting up with a bunch of immediate family to go to a restaurant during the reception, I'm just trying to picture that in my head and just think how awful that would actually look, and further damaging to what's already, it sounds like, a fragile relationship, which in the end left me thinking, what's the point of going in the first place? Overall, it just made me feel like there's more about this relationship than what we've just seen, which is often the case we see in these stories. But OP did update the post and says, "Thanks people of Reddit for all your comments and suggestions. All were insightful, even the negative ones. So we did end up leaving the wedding, but not because of the food. Let me preface, the entire day was a disorganized mess. I was excluded from the moment I arrived. I ended up getting ready by myself, even though everyone else was in the bridal suite. I brought a sandwich for myself, which I couldn't eat until very late in the day, and sat at the wedding breakfast looking awkward as I didn't eat any of the vegan food. There was talk of a pizza order being made in the evening because they weren't providing any food for the evening. This never happened, so everyone had to go hungry. It was unbearably hot in the dining room, so I asked the groom how long until the speeches, so I could go outside and cool down. I was told I had plenty of time, like 15 to 20 minutes. Within 5 minutes of me being outside, there was cheering and clapping, meaning they started the speeches knowing I was outside and would miss them. They'd also allocated us the room closest to the dance floor, meaning that my toddler couldn't sleep because of the noise and music. We ended up leaving at 9:30 p.m. and going home. Gotta love a 2-hour drive at that time of night, starving too. And because it was a child-free wedding, aside from my child, everyone was fawning over her and giving her bundles of attention that my sister obviously didn't like, because she was overheard with her new husband saying, "All anyone cares about is that bloody baby," to which she laughed and just told him to shh, because they were talking under our open bedroom window. I'm furious and beyond disgusted. This is the final straw, and I'll be going no contact with them both from here on out. I honestly do not care what people say about me. But the moment anyone comes after my child, who's done nothing but exist, then you're in trouble. I hope she's happy with her new family, because mine will no longer be any of her concern." Commenter says to OP, "You shouldn't have attended." OP says, "I wish I didn't." Commenter says, "Now to be honest, you honestly shouldn't have gone to the wedding if you knew the wedding was child-free. I totally understand not having anyone to watch the baby and whatnot, but you're already contemplating on not going. That would have been enough reason to just not go. And I'm not saying that your sister talking shit about your baby is cool, because it was definitely uncalled for. But this really could have been avoided. All of it. You all wouldn't have had to starve all day, nor she would have had given a reason to purposely talk shit about you and your baby. She knew exactly what she was doing. She wanted you to hear what she was saying. Just use better judgment next time." OP says, "My child was the only child allowed at the wedding. They stated that my child was the only child invited, and she was a flower girl." Commenter says, "They sound like tools, but it also sounds like you expected outside personal consideration for a few things. You could have asked the hotel to move your room, ordered your own evening food, or stopped at a market if you were hungry, and brought sufficient alternatives knowing the meals provided like the breakfast. Did they not tell you where the bridal suite was?" OP says, "We did ask if we could be moved, but all rooms had either been allocated or the travel cot would not fit in the room. I was not told where anything was. We were just led to the room we were allocated. We ended up getting a drive-through McDonald's on the way home. Someone says, did they hire a planner? This just sounds like a pile-up of oversights, or maybe this is how they try to cut costs. Either way, you got to witness a dumpster fire from start to somewhere before it ended. Opie says, I think it was all self-planned, but the spending habits made no sense to me, personally. Spent $2.5k on a dress, $8k on food for the wedding buffet, but refused to get any sort of help to plan or evening food, or even a hairstylist for the start for the getting ready part. There's plenty of cost-saving measures that could have been implemented. Commenter says, like another bridesmaid, your mum, etc. Opie says she didn't get there until about an hour after I did, and the other bridesmaids were off with my sister. And the last commenter says, I don't understand why you think they should have waited for you to be with the speeches. They can't remember everyone's plans and locations all the time. Opie says, it's more the fact that I wanted to be there. I wanted to make sure we could all be there to listen, and I was misinformed and left out. Oh my word, it just sounds exhausting, and I'm really left just wondering what their relationship has been like all this time, because it just sounds like they really dislike each other. The whole thing, you know, if it was out of courtesy, like Opie being bridesmaid in the wedding was out of courtesy and necessity, like Opie said, but that it continued down this path. It was just messy. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story is from My Mum is Entitled from the Entitled Parents subreddit. And it says, Entitled Mum is forcing me to marry cousin to make us a US citizen. And it also has a 5-year update. But before we do get into that, I want to give you a couple of trigger warnings of alcoholism, overdose, and there's possible human trafficking as well. So if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. I was going to post this on my main account before I came to my senses. This isn't really a throwaway, but more an account I'll use to share stories of my entitled family. Mum. Before you call bullshit and start joking around saying Sweet Home Alabama. 1. Believe me. I wish this was bullshit, but unfortunately it's an actual situation I'm facing. 2. We're Dominican. Don't know if that changes everything. 3. I hate that song. I'm 20 and male. Cousin is 19 and female. Spanish was my first language. I have a third cousin in the Dominican Republic. They're not well off in that country and her mum is a little neglectful. At this point it feels like my mum cares more about her than me, but whatever, she deserves it. She's a good kid who does well in school and wants to move to the US to go to nursing school. She can't, however, because she isn't a legal citizen. My mum decided that it would be the best plan for me to go to the Dominican Republic in June or July and marry my third cousin to make her legal. She brought this up a few years ago, but I thought she was joking. Apparently she wasn't, because she brought this plan up again, but she's actually talking about how she already booked flights for the Dominican Republic and shit. What the fuck? I'm in a relationship already and my mum literally told me that she doesn't give a fuck about my personal life. All she cares about is going to the Dominican Republic and forcing me to marry my cousin. Thankfully, I talked about the plan with my significant other, and they are supportive. Due to the pandemic and not knowing if it's going to get worse, I think it's safe to say we're not flying out there, but my mum, for some reason, still acts like we are still going. Basically, I marry her and stay married for a year, then we divorce amicably. My mum pockets any money that's made from this, if any. When I tried to downright refuse this was met with screaming, physical anger, and threats to kick me out. I'm afraid to go to any family members because I don't know what is going to happen. The top comments on this one first says, lol, well that won't work, she will have to wait 3 years before becoming legal. Also, there are fees. Family sponsorship form, I-130, $535. Green card application form, I-485, $1,140. The practice of obtaining residency through marriage is illegal in the United States if the marriage itself is fraudulent. Another comment says, please don't do this. It's immigration fraud and you will be punished. Another commenter says, you'll be committing a felony. Do not do it and tell your mother to back off you, or you will turn her in for attempts at immigration fraud. Commodore 4 says, you need to get away from your mother immediately. Being forced into marriage against your will is never okay. Your mother also does not know what she is talking about. This will take much longer than a year. Green card marriages require regular check-ins to confirm the marriage is real. So say goodbye to your current significant other for the duration, and any immigration is quite expensive. She will pocket any money made off the situation. How is she expecting to make money? You understand that if somehow she does, technically it will make your mother a human trafficker. I want to stress again how much you need to get away. There is the terrible and controlling behavior of forcing you to marry, as well as pushing you into a scheme that could result in serious jail time for those involved and drastically harm the chances of your cousin being able to immigrate in the future. On a sarcastic note, what's your mother's marriage status? Why doesn't she marry the cousin herself? Look, beyond the actual legal issues behind this, it being an actual crime in the US for one, your mum trying to force you into a marriage against your will, making threats to make you comply, is just so bloody awful. There's threats, the intimidation, and just the willingness to put you at legal risk. And it's just such a tricky and sensitive situation as well, because if you tell someone that, is that going to get back to your mum? I just wonder, is there any sort of support around OP that he can lean on to get himself out of that situation? But 5 years after that, OP came in with an update and said, it's been 5 years since I made this post. And honestly, I was never planning on updating and forgot about the account until I just saw this YouTube video and was really sympathizing with the writer, until I realized that I am the writer. The original post is still up on my profile, but to give a quick summary, my mum has always been abusive both physically and mentally, and has always been very controlling of my life despite becoming an adult. Things reached a point that I never thought it would, when my mum tried to force me to go to the Dominican Republic to marry my cousin so we could bring her back to the United States so that she could start nursing school. I logged into this account to see people messaging me for an update and people making up theories. Lol. Some said I died. Others said I married the cousin and got into legal trouble, etc. If I wrote in detail what happened in the last years, then this post would be a million characters long, so here is a TLDR. Broke up with the girlfriend I was dating in the first story after I found out she was cheating on me. I never ended up marrying the cousin because I avoided renewing my passport, and my mum found another person in the US that she was going to try to force me to marry, and that fell through as well. Ended up summoning the strength to start standing up to my mum, and she kicked me out of the house summer of 2021. I ended up moving in with another family member, and I turned to drugs and alcohol to help me cope, and I overdosed in December of 2021 at age 21. But thankfully, I survived. Me and my mum reconciled January of 2022 because of her entering counselling and my OD. I ended up moving back in with my mother so that she could care for me while I got better, and she ended up having another freak out and kicked me out again August of 2022. And I ended up having to move to a different state with a Discord friend because my mum physically attacked me. I left all my possessions and everything I knew and loved behind, and I was utterly miserable in this new state. No money to my name, and I went days at a time without eating and tried to take my own life. I survived and started working my ass off and found a job. I then found another unhealthy vice and started my hookups phase in this new state and ended up dating someone who turned out to be the second most toxic woman imaginable. And I'm also a dumbass who doesn't seem to be able to learn their lesson, and I moved in with my mother yet again in January of 2023. But this time things actually seemed to go fairly normal for a while, since my mum realized she could use me for money and I'd let her because I was a sucker. I started a career and started making money. Broke up with my now long distance girlfriend, and after the breakup she accused me of cheating on her, but turns out she was the one that was cheating. I swore off relationships for good. I got close to a girl that also swore off relationships for good. And yep, we ended up dating. Lol. We celebrated our 1 year anniversary, and after yet another freak out by my mum in January of 2025, because my girlfriend gave me the reality check to stop letting her use me, me and my girlfriend made the plans to move in together. And as of April 2025, me and her are now living together, and I'm 800 miles away from my mother and barely call her. Me and my mum are cordial because I still want contact with my little sister. But I only call my mum on my terms, and anytime she starts acting entitled to me, I cut her off and threaten to go no contact. I'm now living a peaceful life that I never thought I'd be living before. I'm living with the love of my life, and I'm planning on proposing to her soon. I'm being flown all over the country thanks to my career, and my partner's family have basically taken me in as one of their own. I want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone who read and replied to my old post. You guys truly helped me put a lot of things to perspective, and it helped me realize what a messed up situation I was living in. I have tons of stories from events that happened over the years and stories from my career as a touring musician, so let me know if you guys want to hear some. It was kind of therapeutic writing these. Thank you guys. Gee whiz, what a few years it's been for OP. It sounded like they really started to spiral, and the keep coming back to mum time and time again was really concerning. I think even now it's a bit of a worry that at some point, if hopefully it never happens, touch wood, touching my desk, that his relationship works out well, because if it doesn't, will it mean him going back to his mum once again and then something else happening? She doesn't sound like a good person at all and only seems to care about herself. But things at this moment in time sound like a huge step forward to OP, his new relationship, getting some more support from her side of the family. Hopefully it's a more balanced family and OP really sees what true family should look like. But if you do hear this, OP, I really do wish you do continue to live that peaceful life that you never thought you'd be living before. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.